I'm going to show you how to make a clay bird today. It'll probably take more than one video, but we'll just get started with the first one. I was looking around for Minnesota birds, and I know that we have several different kinds of birds in Minnesota. I kind of decided on the finch. I think they're kind of cute. And I found a bunch of pictures, laptop, not centered, but I found a bunch of pictures of finches and kind of looked at the body shapes from different angles and then did some sketches. So I have a sketch of overall what the finch looks like, kind of paying attention to how big is the head compared to the body, what shape is the body, and then how does the tail look attached to the body. And I broke that down into more simplified shapes. So I have this egg shape for the body and a circle for the head or sphere, and then I will be putting the beak on and then adding the tail on later. So to make my finch, I'm going to start with some very simple forms. I don't want to worry about feet at all because these little birdies will not have feet. A lot of times when you put feet on, they're too thin and the bodies can be too heavy and can break the feet off. So we're just going to work on the body and then we'll make a stand for the bird. So I need a couple of things. One thing that I definitely want to have is some good slip. My slip is just clay that I've added water to, and it's nice and loose, and I've taken the time to really stir it up well. So it's like thick gravy. And then having some sort of a clay tool. I've chosen this wooden tool because it has a lot of different functions. I also need a few pieces of clay. I have one that's a little bit larger. This is going to be the body of my finch. And then I have a little leftover that is about the right size for the head. I might have to make some adaptations as I go. Okay, so let's make sure our camera's set up right. Make sure I get this on here. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is with my larger piece of clay, I'm going to make the egg shape for the body. And with clay, you want to make sure that you wedge it out a little bit. For these, the clay we're using is fairly fresh, so we're going to pound it gently into kind of a cylinder, tapping on the sides and then top and bottom. Usually I start with cubes, but since we want kind of an egg shape, I'm just going to work a little bit more cylindrically. And once you've tapped it for a while, I've already tapped mine for a minute or two. That helps compress the clay, get extra air bubbles out, and then we can form the body. So with the body, we're going to make this kind of egg shape, pat it out. So it's more circular. And in the pictures I looked at, might be a little bit smaller towards where the head is going to be attached, maybe at the top, but not a whole lot. It's fairly symmetrical. It's an egg shape, okay? So we have this egg shape, and eventually it's going to get hollowed out, but we're not going to worry about that for now. So I have my egg shape, my basic shape of the body, and I'm going to do the head next. And if I look at my drawing, okay, I kind of look at this lump of clay, proportionally, is this going to work? Is it going to be too big? It looks kind of okay. We'll see. So I'm going to then make my head round. So when I make a round form, I take my lump of clay and gently tap it on all 6 sides. To start with a cube. It likes to stick to the paper, so I might just do this right on the table. Clay's washable. I'm not worried about getting some clay dust on my table. All right. So I've compressed the clay a little bit. I have a nice cube, and then I can make it into a sphere quickly and easily by patting and rolling and tapping out the corners. Okay, pressing in the corners. All right. Then, comparatively, is this going to be a good size? Well, my lump of clay is a little bit bigger than my drawing, and my head is a little bit bigger than my drawing. So the two compared to each other look pretty good. The head might be a little bit big. But once I attach these, I'm going to be smearing some of this clay down, and I have to make sure that I have a little extra because I have to make a beak too, and I'm going to form the beak right on top of the head. So for now, I'm not going to worry too much. If it's a little tiny bit big, maybe I'll shave off a bit. So let's work on the head shape. With birds, we know that the beak comes out in front and the eyes are on either sides. So if I kind of make a mark where the eyes are going to be, just kind of digging in my fingers on either side of the head. Okay, the eyes are not in front on a bird, they're on the sides. Then the nose, or the beak, I should say, comes out in front. And when I looked at my little finch drawings and my pictures, the beaks aren't super duper big. It's important when you're forming your beak that you do a little bit at a time. So very carefully, and I can see I'm already starting to pull off a little bit of clay. If I have little pieces, I can just throw them in my slip container. But you don't want to go too fast. Oops, I don't want to use a wet finger. I want my fingers to be dry when I'm doing this. A little bit at a time to make kind of a point. I'm just going to keep rotating and using my thumb and index finger to pull more clay from the sphere to get a point. It's almost like a teardrop at this point. All right. So I've got my basic head shape. And the eyes will definitely need more work later, and so will the beak. I'm just going to smooth out the little lumps, bumps, and cracks. I don't want to smush it too flat. I want to keep my beak substantial. So that's about where the eye is going to go, and that's kind of where the beak is. All right.